Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. On today's video, I'm going to be making one of my favorite bratwurst, the jalapeno cheddar brat. Stay tuned. All right, so let's go over the ingredients that I'm going to be using for our jalapeno bratwurst today. I am using 10 pounds of pork. I am using a pork shoulder that I do have to cube up here in a little bit. 1 tablespoon per pound of the jalapeno brat seasoning. So I'm using 10 pounds. That means I'm going to be using 10 tablespoons of the seasoning. Now, I am going to be adding 2 tablespoons of black pepper, and that's only because I like black pepper, okay? The seasoning by itself from PS Seasonings is fantastic. Now, the nice thing is it allows you to modify it a little bit and still end up with a really good brat. Again, I like black pepper, so I'm adding 2 tablespoons of black pepper. I'm also going to be using 2 teaspoons of speed cure from PS Seasonings, and the reason I'm using this curing salt is because I'm going to be smoking these bratwurst at a very low temperature to get a really nice smoky brat. So I'm also going to be adding 3 finely chopped jalapenos. Now these jalapenos were pretty large, as you can see right here. Now you don't have to do this. The reason I'm doing this is because I love jalapeno. Now, the jalapeno brat seasoning from PS Seasonings already has some jalapeno in it. It's not extremely spicy. In fact, it's pretty mild in my opinion. And that's the reason why I'm adding the jalapenos. I didn't remove the seeds or the veins because I like it spicy. All right, last but not least, I am adding some high temperature cheddar cheese from PS Seasonings. Now, the measurement for this is 10% of your total weight. And I want to clarify this here for a quick minute, okay? So in 1 pound of meat, you have 454 grams. So 454 times 10 pounds, obviously is going to give you 4,540 grams. 10% of that, which is the rule of thumb for cheddar cheese, is 454 grams, which is what I'm going to be adding to this sausage. All right, let me move this aside, grab my pork shoulder, and start cutting it. Stay tuned. All right, so here's my pork shoulder. Now this is 11 pounds, but I did mention that I'm starting with 10 pounds of pork, and the reason for that is this still has the bone, and it's going to weigh about a pound once I pull it off. So I'm just going to start trimming this. Now, what you want to do is put the blade of the pork shoulder on your left side and start cutting on the opposite side. Just start making these steaks, if you will. I am using my Dow Strong chef's knife, which is extremely sharp, and cutting these steaks about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches thick. So once I have the pork steaks like this, again, I've got a pretty large meat grinder, and it can take some big pieces of meat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them into cubes and pop these in my fridge and get them ice cold, okay? So again, I can cut these pretty large cubes because my meat grinder will take them, okay? Just like that. So I'm going to finish cutting this pork shoulder up, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so I just took out my equipment out of the freezer, and it's ice cold. I had the meat in the refrigerator as well, and it is extremely ice cold. So now I'm just going to grind it up. I am using the 4.5mm die, and that's all I'm going to use. I was thinking about going with a 10, but I think that might be too coarse. So I decided to go with a 4.5mm die. So I'm just going to turn this on, start feeding it. So these pieces are pretty big, as I mentioned earlier. And that's because this has a really big throat, okay? And it just sucks it right in. Rarely do I have to use a plunger to feed the meat in there. Just drop it in. So I didn't trim this pork shoulder at all. This is gonna give me that 70-30 fat ratio. So 70% lean, 30% fat. And that's what you want for a good brat, okay? So I'm gonna finish grinding this up, and we'll be right back. So I added 10 tablespoons of the jalapeno bratwurst seasoning from PS Seasonings. As I mentioned earlier, I like black pepper, so I'm using 2 tablespoons of that. I'm also adding 2 teaspoons of the speed cure, or curing salt, just like that. Here's our 3 finely diced jalapenos. And our 454 grams of high temp cheese. All right, next step, I am gonna add some ice cold water. And I actually have some crushed ice in this water, just to keep everything nice and cold. There you go. Now I'm just gonna mix this by hand, get everything nice and incorporated. Now I do have a mixer, but since this is only 10 pounds, I decided to just mix it by hand, okay? So just get everything nice and incorporated. All right, now this isn't quite as tacky as I need it to be, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more water. All right, so that looks good right there, nice and sticky. Let's test it. Just grab a small amount in your hand and smear it on there like a patty. And you want it to stick to your hand, just like that, okay? That is the fat extraction that you want. It's nice and sticky. So I've got my canister right here for my stuffer. Just gonna load it up. Remember, you don't want any air pockets, okay? So make sure you try to take all the air out of the can, just like this. All right, I'm gonna finish loading this up and we'll get to stuffing our casings. Stay tuned. All right, so I've got my canister filled up. Just gonna put it on my stuffer here real quick. This is my meat stuffer. I'm gonna lower the piston. Now this stuffer does have a built-in air purge valve right there. That'll remove any of the excess air that you have. So go ahead and start cranking it, and it's cranking really easy. Now I like to use this really large sheet pan right here. It just makes things a lot easier to work with. Now some of that ice water that I had left over, I'm just gonna dump that on my sheet tray like that. And here's our hog casings right here. These are from PS Seasonings as well. So just find one end. Ooh, this is a nice long one right here. Just like so. What you wanna do is you wanna stick 2 fingers in there, into the casing, pick up some of this water. Doing this is gonna rinse the casing on the inside and also untangle the casing. So just lift it all the way up like this. And start applying it to your horn right here, okay? Now some of that water does make it easy to put the casing on your horn as well, okay? So I highly recommend that you put enough water in there. Oh, this is a nice long one. I'm liking this. Look at that, that went for miles. All right, so when you're close to the end like this, just pull it out a little bit, make a knot. Now this is really slippery, so sometimes it can get a little bit tricky. Just like that, nice and tight. All right, so it's time to start stuffing these casings. Now I am having my daughter help me. I do recommend that you use 2 people if you have a manual stuffer. Just makes it go a lot easier and a lot faster, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and start stuffing these. And here we go. Now I'm putting a little bit of pressure with my hand that's on this horn right here, and that's controlling the amount of sausage that we're stuffing into this casing. These are gonna be really nice and plump, I can tell you that. Look at that. These are gonna be good. Now I can go as slow or as fast as I want. Just gotta tell my daughter. Now sometimes you will get a blowout, so obviously you gotta slow down and fix your repair, but so far so good. You can see the jalapeno in the casing and that cheddar cheese. All right, so we're gonna finish stuffing these casings and we'll be right back. All right, so we've got our casings stuffed. Now I do wanna show you how nice this meat stuffer is. You have very little sausage left in your container, okay? The Cabela's one that I used to have left enough meat in there for about 2 sausages, so this is very little meat, just the meat that's right here in the horn. So I just want to point that out to you guys, just in case you're looking at buying some of this meat product. So I'm going to be leaving a link inside the description box if you want to grab yourself this meat stuffer that I'm using today, okay? All right, so I have 3 really large pinwheels of sausage, and I did mark my tray here that you guys have seen me do before. This measures 6.5 inches, and that's how long I want my brats, okay? About 6.5 inches. So I just measure it out, 6.5, and pinch Measure 6.5 inches again, pinch, and twist, okay? Like this, just like that. You want to twist until the casing is nice and tight. So let me show you a couple more. 6.5 inches right there, pinch, measure 6.5 inches just like this, and then twist, or you can twirl it as well. Really nice, girthy sausage right there. 6.5, pinch, 6.5, pinch, and twist, just like that. All right, so I'm gonna finish twisting these up, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so I've got all my links twisted up. Now I do have some air pockets in these bratwurst, and I do have a sausage picker. So what I like to do is just prick each brat a couple of times just to release that air that you have in there. Okay, so I ended up with 36 brats, and these are girthy. I gotta tell you, these are gonna be good. And it smells absolutely amazing in this kitchen too, okay? All right, so the next step is just to put them in my fridge overnight, let the casing dry out on the outside. That's gonna develop a nice pellicle on the outside of the casing, and that pellicle is what the smoke is gonna adhere to once I smoke them. All right, so I'm gonna be smoking these tomorrow on my Yoder Frontiersman at a very low temperature of 130 degrees. Now I'm slowly gonna ramp up the temperature until the internal temperature of my brats is 160 degrees. So I do wanna thank Chef Johnny for giving me the pro tip on using these cooling racks right here. This is gonna allow that nice cold air inside the refrigerator to really circulate throughout the entire bratwurst and develop that pellicle that we're after. So again, I'm gonna be putting these in my fridge for an entire day. We'll see you guys then. Stay tuned. All right, so it's the very next day, and my smoker is up to temperature 125 degrees. I'm trying to get it to 130, but I'm okay with 125. And just in case you're wondering how I'm running this 3,000-pound beast at such a low temperature, I am using about half the charcoal that I normally use to start my firebox. And then I ended up splitting some B&B hickory wood, and these are perfect because they come in about 12-inch sections, and I split that into 4 little splits, as you can see there on the shelf. That's gonna give me that opportunity to maintain that 125, 130, and then if I want to ramp the temperature up to 150, which I will later on, all I got to do is add another split to get it to that temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and separate these sausages. I'm just going to use some scissors to separate them, lay them on the shelf, and I'll bring you guys right back. So I'm placing my brats on the top shelf right here with the back of the brat facing that firebox. That way the smoke comes over and hits that entire back end of that bratwurst. Give them enough space. Just like this. Got plenty of real estate, so I can spread them out a little bit. All right, just have these 2 small brats right here. We call these the Pitmaster Privileged brats, just like that. So I'm gonna slide my shelf in. These are gonna smoke for about an hour, and I'll bring you guys back at that point. We'll take a look at them, get an internal temperature. Stay tuned. All right, so 1 hour into the cook, let's take a look at our brats. Oh yeah, they're getting a really nice light red color right now, as you can see there. So my pit has been running about 125, 130 in that area. I just dropped a really small split of wood. I'm gonna go ahead and ramp the temperature up to 150 degrees. As you can see, I do have a probe inside one of the brats, and the internal temperature right now is 106 degrees. So we got quite a ways to go. I'm looking for 160 degrees. So I'm gonna be running the smoker at 150 for another hour. We'll come back then. Stay tuned. All right, so it's been 4 hours since we put our bratwurst on. Let's take a look at the color. Man, these are looking really good. Look at this. Again, we're only running my pit at 150 degrees, but I'm gonna go ahead and ramp it up to 175 and let these get up to 160 degrees internal. But they got a really nice red color. And no, this pit is not hot. Again, it's only 150 degrees, so just been getting a good smoke treatment. This is what that cold smoking does to your bratwurst. Gives it a really nice reddish color, and that's from that smoke. I gotta tell you, I'm really happy with these. I'll bring you guys back as soon as these hit 160 degrees internal. Stay tuned. All right, so it's been 5 hours, and the internal temperature of our brats is 160 degrees. Look at these bad boys. So at this point, these are fully cooked, but I do want to ice them down. So I got a ice bath right here. Just gonna put them in there real quick and chill them down. I'm gonna finish pulling these off of the smoker, and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so my bratwursts have completely chilled down. They are sitting at 53 degrees internal. Now I fired up my smoker at 275, just added a few more splits of wood. I'm gonna smoke a few of these especially this one right here with the probe. Probably gonna smoke about 6 of them. So I'm gonna be looking for 160 degrees internal, and these bad boys will be ready. We'll slice them up and see how we did. Stay tuned. All right, so the jalapeno cheddar brats are ready. They hit an internal temperature of 160 degrees. Only took about an hour in my smoker, and look at this beautiful color that these brats have. I want to keep calling these sausages for some reason, but if I did say it in my video, forgive me, these are brats. But look at this beautiful color on this skin right here. If you guys ever have a brat or a sausage and the skin is extremely wrinkled, that means that whoever you purchased them from overcooked them, okay? That happens because the fat will actually come out of that casing, causing it to kind of shrivel up. So this is what you want right here. This is a perfectly smoked sausage. Now these are still pretty warm. They have been resting for about 20 minutes, and I can tell that they are still pretty hot, but let's slice into them. Let me just move a couple of these aside here, and we're gonna cut this lucky bad boy right here and see how we did. I'm gonna cut this on the bias so you guys can see the inside, okay? That's got a really nice snap to it. You can see our fresh jalapeno right there, the cheddar cheese. Man, this has a good snap to it. Let's give it a try, see how we did. All right, so let's see how we did on our jalapeno cheddar brats. Now, don't you think for 1 minute that I'm gonna pick up one of these pre-sliced pieces of this brat. I'm gonna do this the old-fashioned way. I'm gonna see if we got a nice snap. Here we go. That is absolutely amazing. Let's try this again. All right, I gotta tell you, this bratwurst is absolutely delicious. It's got a really good snap to it, really good smoky flavor. As far as that heat level, I wanna call it kind of a medium heat. In fact, I like it a little bit hotter than this, so next time, I'm gonna add a little bit more jalapenos to this. Make sure you guys check out all the links inside the description box. There you're gonna find information on some of the items that I use in this video to make these delicious bratwurst. Hope you guys liked this video. Don't forget to check out Chef Johnny. I'm gonna leave a link up top so you guys can check out his channel. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, leave them down below. Until next time, Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit Barbecue. See ya.